This is episode 898, Thursday Thoughts. This week I'm taking a look at a couple things I learned from Travis Mills, our Tuesday interview, why your words should match your actions, and something I read in the news that kind of alarmed me.
This is the Create Your Own Life show, where we talk about things that matter. We're free thinkers and we don't believe in participation trophies. We're not afraid and unapologetically ourselves. It's time to create your own life.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Jeremy here. It is Thursday. It is the 15th of July, 2021, and this is the Create Your Own Life show. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday with me, everyone. I hope you guys have enjoyed the interview we had this week, which I'm going to break down in just a little bit as part of my Thursday Thoughts today. We had Travis Mills with us this week, who is a quadruple amputee and really, after serving his country, figured out how to take that misfortune and now use it to help a lot of our other servicemen and women, and we definitely appreciate him. So I'm going to get into that in just a little bit, and something that I feel like that came up for me from my learnings with Travis. It actually came up speaking to Brad Lee today, interviewing him for the show, and it came up as part of the conversation and really made me think a little bit. So I want to share that with you guys in just a little while as part of my Thursday Thoughts. But this is the first episode I'm actually doing from the new Create Your Own Life studio. It is a 6-foot by 8-foot studio box I have built at my house. And I really underestimated the amount of materials that I thought I was going to need. I had originally purchased 4-4-foot by 8-foot, the really thin plywood pieces. I ended up needing 6 total, so I was off by 2 there. We used 2x3s instead of 2x4s, which was fine. I predicted 10. We ended up needing 25, so I was way off there. So that was just the framing and the boxing. And then we did cover it in soundproof foam, which it's not totally covered in now, so it's not going to sound 100% like I want it to, which it will later in the week once I get the rest of this foam up. I had predicted 50 of those. I don't even know where my brain was. I used 150 is what it ended up being. So I was pretty far off on the prediction of it, but the new studio is built. So when people are in town, I'm going to be able to do some live in-person interviews, which is super exciting. But also, it's going to give me the way to get the best possible studio quality sound for the podcast now, which is super, super exciting. So that's where I'm actually recording this intro from today. And I actually interviewed Brad Lee from the studio earlier today, so you guys are going to hear that in a couple weeks, which is super exciting. The episode we have coming out with Mark Munoz next week is one of the last ones that was recorded previously in the old studio at my old house before I moved. So this is at the new house, and I've actually built a studio in the basement, so I'm excited for that one. I'm going to be writing a blog post shortly, kind of showing how the process worked, what it all looked like. I am definitely not an architect, but it all worked, and it's great. Got some air circulation in here by means of a in and out fan, so that's great. So I'm just really excited about this and kind of the direction it takes the show moving forward. So building kind of a stationary kit in here, which is going to be super exciting. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to the people over at MyPillow. You can support the fine patriots over there at MyPillow by using my promo code CYOL over at mypillow.com. And you get up to 66% off of select products. I know they have the pillows, all different sorts of things over there that they use. We use the Giza Dream Sheets in my house. And I just purchased the slippers recently, too. The travel pillows are amazing. They have become my new favorite gift to give people. So you can get up to 66% off of select products and support Mike Lindell and everyone over there at MyPillow by doing so. So the promo code is CYOL over at mypillow.com. We also want to give a shout out to the fine people over at Audible that are kind enough to offer each one of you out there a free audiobook download and a free month of their service. Right now, I am reading Before America by Graham Hancock. I think I called him Graham Hitchcock last week. Sorry, Alfred Hitchcock. And it's a very, very interesting story of America before the current America we live in. And it goes on to genesis of the people in the area and things like that. So it's just super, super exciting stuff. So you can grab that book or any other book for free, courtesy of Audible. Just head over to jeremyryanslate.com/book. That is jeremyryanslate.com/book. Just a reminder as well, wherever you're listening to the show, do subscribe and review the show, as it does help us to climb the charts, get seen, and reach more people, which helps us to keep going and helps us to make a bigger impact out there. So today's Thursday Thoughts, I'm going to run through a few different things. We're going to talk about real integrity, some things I learned from our interview with Travis Mills this week, and then also something that I read an article about and it deeply concerned me. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that at the end. But anyway, let's start out with my biggest learning point from Travis Mills this week. This is something that actually came up for me in my conversation with Brad Lee. And Travis talks about, I'm trying to remember at what point in the interview this was, but he talks about being in the hospital when he had just learned of having his limbs amputated. And he has this idea of there are people that are worse off than him. I think that's pretty incredible because he was in a bad situation. His life is permanently changed and he's thinking about other people. So the thing I want you to think about is bad things happen in your life, things go wrong, and it's okay to be upset initially, it's okay to not be happy with it, but don't throw yourself a pity party because there are people that are worse off than you that have had more serious things happen to you and you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing that kind of came up for me in my conversation with Brad around this is actually how much your point of view and how you look at things and look at the world affects so much of how you experience it, right? And you look at all these things that happened to Travis, and he still had a positive outlook and a positive idea. So because of that, more positive things happened for him. More positive things happened to him. He caused more positive things. So your viewpoint or how you think and consider things is actually a huge part of how you experience the world. So I think it's really just some food for thought of, I know it's difficult at times. I know it's hard at times, but figure out how to look at situations for what the positive is in it, because there's always something. There's always a good point that you can find about even the most horrible things. So figure out how you're going to look at situations, and that's going to affect a lot of how you experience them and experience the rest of your life. So those are two really key viewpoints for me. Is number one, there's always somebody that's worse off than you. And then number two, so much of how you experience life is the outlook and the viewpoint that you have on it. So I think it's really important to take a look at that way. So I want to quickly tell you about today's sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Gusto, and this is actually the payroll management system that we use at my company, Command Your Brand. We've used them for years, absolutely love them, and they offer modern, easy payroll, benefits, and HR service to small business across the country. They were even named Best Online Payroll by PC Mag, and as a listener, you'll actually get $100 free just for trying the service via an Amazon gift card if you just head over to jeremyryanslate.com/gusto and get your free trial. As I said, we have used Gusto at Command Your Brand to run all of our payroll, handle all of our taxes, all of that filing, and it makes it just a snap. We absolutely love them. So if you want to get started with Gusto and get a $100 Amazon gift card just for getting started, head over to jeremyryanslate.com/gusto and get started with Gusto today. So the second thing I wanted to mention here, and this goes along with a conversation I was having with a friend a couple years ago, Sean Douglas, who's an Air Force guy, so I guess another military guy here. And we were talking about the idea of integrity. He always had it as integrity is what you do when nobody's looking. Now, growing up, my parents had always taught me that character is what you're doing when nobody's looking. So the thing I want you to consider is real character, or real integrity in this case, is how you conduct yourself in every single situation. Your words should always match your deeds or your actions. because there's so many times that we say certain things and do the opposite. We do certain things and say the opposite. So really, no matter who's looking, no matter what's going on, always be who you are. Always be the person you are, because how you conduct yourself really defines yourself. And I look at this and, we can have some very difficult situations in our lives. And how you react in those difficult times when you don't have time to think about who's looking, when you don't have time to think about who cares, that's who you are. That's going to show you who you are. So really, you should be practicing all the time of no matter who's looking, no matter who's there, doing what's right at all times. And really practicing that integrity, or that, being a person of character in that way, because it's lacking so much in this world. So how can you be a person of integrity and a person of character whose words match their deeds and their deeds match their words or their actions? And no matter who's looking, no matter if it's, the lowliest person out there or the most important, they're always doing what they should be doing because it's the right thing to do. Not always the easy thing, not always the simplest thing, but it's the right thing to do. And that really shows who you really are. So that's the second thing I wanted to talk about today. The third thing is a little bit of a different vein, but something that kind of blew my mind. I'm like, they want to do what? So we're going to get a little political here for a second. There was a bill that came up in Congress. It's called the Protecting Your Credit Score Act of 2021. So your credit score is like how different companies rate you for lending based on what you pay, how much credit you have out, payments you've made, payments you've missed, times you've applied for credit. So it's a number that shows the scale is 800 and something is where it ends off. But there's 3 different companies that rate people on it. There's Experian, there's TransUnion, Equifax. Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So these 3 companies, and they're never quite the same, but they're usually pretty close. They have things that they base how they score your credit on. This bill that was put up in Congress on, I think it was July 2nd. Once again, it's called you can Google this if you want to look it up. It's called the Protecting Your Credit Score Act of 2021. So look that up and definitely read it. But basically what they want to do, and anytime people centralize things, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Congress wants to abolish the credit reporting companies and have Congress assign your credit score directly. I don't know. I don't want to have my credit score tied to the government. That's kind of a little scary. I'm not going to kind of say what that reminds me of, but it kind of freaked me out a little bit. So this is just something I'm keeping my eye on. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't know what you guys think about it, but it kind of freaked me out a little bit. Wait, why would the government want to assign my credit score like they do in China? Anyway, I don't think that's a good thing, so I'm hoping that's something that doesn't pass, but just something to be aware of and keep an eye on. So just the rundown of what we talked about today. Today's Thursday Thoughts episode is things we learned from Travis Mills. There's always someone worse off than you. So much of how you experience life is how you view it and your viewpoint on it. Real integrity and real character is doing the right thing even when it's hard, and always doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. And then the thing that alarmed me today is called the Protecting Your Credit Score Act of 2021. The government wants to give you a credit score. That kind of scares me a little bit. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this Thursday Thoughts episode of the show. Let me know what you'd like to hear on a future Thursday Thoughts, or you'd like me to get my thoughts on a future Thursday Thoughts. Hit me up on Instagram. I am at Jeremy Ryan Slate, or you can do that on Twitter. You can do it on Instagram in a story, which would be super cool. Tag me in the story and I'll share it to my story, or tweet at me and I will retweet it and I'll answer it in a future episode of the show. But I'm at Jeremy Ryan Slate on both of those platforms. So make sure you do that. And I'd love to talk about it on a future Thursday Thoughts episode of the show. You can get the show notes for this episode and everything mentioned in this episode over at jeremyryanslate.com/898. So jeremyryanslate.com/898. So we're going to be hitting 900 last week, which is kind of wild. Or next week, we're going to be hitting 900. So that's super, super exciting. So get all the show notes over there. You get the transcript now since we do those as well. All the links we talked about in this episode. I actually link you guys to that bill I mentioned, and then some cool references on the idea of integrity and things like that, which is super cool as well. Yeah, so next week we have coming at you on Tuesday, interview with Mark Munoz. Mark is an incredible person. He, at the 197-pound class, won a national championship in college wrestling, so that's super exciting. And then went from there to UFC and had some pretty cool experiences over there. So Mark Munoz is going to be on Tuesday. Our Thursday Thoughts episode and episode 900 is going to be on Thursday. So have a great, great weekend, everyone, and get out there and go create your own life.